welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Ali.
And we are here to talk women's football, all things NWSL, WSL, Champions League. Let's be honest. We're going to spend like a minute on the WSL. Mostly we're going to focus on the NWSL this week because there were two massive playoff games. And frankly, there wasn't too much exciting happening in the WSL.
There wasn't.
Allie, you were at a WSL game.
I was.
And I think you're becoming best friends with Lisa Evans or something. What's going on?
She is, first off, the nicest human being. And it was quite funny because I'd just upcycled my shirt that I'd had. So I've now got a Evans 7 on the back. It was quite funny because she was coming over to us and then you heard this really Scottish voice behind us and it was her parents and she was trying to direct them to where they needed to go meet her and they just couldn't get it and she was just like,
cute.
She was like, I'm going to stand here and point where you need to go, and was there for like 4 minutes trying to get her parents to go where they needed.
Oh, soccer players, they're just like us. Can't get their parents to do things they need to do.
But then she came over and I was like, I know we got a photo last time, but I've got to show you the new shirt. And I showed it. She went, there it is. Right, we've got to get a selfie. Aww. So this was her idea. We've got to get a selfie with the number so I can point at the number and be like, this is what you've done now.
That's really cute. It was her idea to get it too.
Yeah, and then my friend was like, oh, I'll take it for you. And she was like, no, I'll do the selfie.
So basically, yes, you're becoming best friends with Lisa Evans, and that's fine.
Yeah, basically we love Lisa Evans.
Now, we're going to move along into the games, but really quickly, we were just laughing, and maybe we'll cut this part out because it's going to be a long intro, but let's talk about it now for a second, because we were just laughing about this. What did you call this?
Guess Mead's on fire.
Guess Mead's on fire. So for those of you who haven't seen this, Vivian Miedema reposted a photo from from an article, I think it was, from the Ballon d'Or ceremony, and the caption on the photo was like Vivian Miedema and her guest.
And then there were some fans. I can't take credit for my very clever caption because there were some fans who had a sign at the Champions League game with saying "Guess Mead's on fire."
That's great.
And so she stole their sign and
love it.
Had a whale of a time. But as we've learned, don't annoy Beth Mead because it just makes her a better player. It just feeds.
As Mike, who edits this podcast, says, when is the football world going to learn not to piss off Beth Mead? Don't know. No. Maybe we'll find out. All right, so we're going to get into it. Like we said, we have a full episode here. We're going to mainly highlight both of those NWSL Semi-Final playoff games because they were amazing. Before we get into that, we're going to quickly go through WSL, Champions League, and around the world. So let's do it.
There was no real game we both felt that really needed in-depth analysis, highlighting. Things went as they went. You know,
while there weren't a ton of games that we felt like highlighting, there were somehow a ton of incredible goals that happened this weekend. So we'll just highlight them here and people can go look them up. We're just like,
go look
hey,
at them.
have a look at this because this is a pretty great goal.
Yeah, so my top three are, and I'm going to butcher her name and I apologise, but it's Leah Votley against Liverpool. Her first league goal, absolutely stunning. Pernille Harder against Brighton.
Wait, that was her first league goal ever? Or you mean this season?
So. I believe so.
Are you for real?
That's what people are telling me.
Oh, wow.
Pernille Harder against Brighton basically picks the ball up at the centre spot and just carries on going.
I like to see Pernille Harder starting to get her feet under her and looking like she's in mid-season form. It's nice to see.
Yep. Absolutely. And then finally, Bunny Shaw against Spurs. It comes in from a corner cross. And just, it's a bullet header. Literally, it lands on, and it's just beautiful technique.
I'm excited to see the progression of Bunny Shaw this year because she didn't get a lot of minutes last year whatsoever. And I would like to see like some form of a progression this year because she has so much potential.
Absolutely. And then just because it's not all about the goal scorers, I'm giving a keeper of the week, which is Megan Walsh for Brighton, because despite the scoreline of a 2-0 Chelsea win, it could have been a lot worse for Brighton without her. She made some insane saves to keep Beth England, Sam Kerr, all of those out and keeping it just a 2-0.
Right, we're going to move into the Champions League because this was all of the midweek chatter. There were some big games. Listen, we are still in the group stages, and we had Arsenal playing Lyon. We had PSG playing Chelsea. Like, there are some matchups happening right now. It's just wild to me that this is the group stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, again, a bit like the WSL, certain things happened, like Barcelona battered their opponents like 6-0.
Right.
So it was sort of things that, like, expected. However, the shock and awe of Arsenal beating Lyon 5-1 was something else.
Not expected, to say the least.
No, it wasn't. And people are saying, oh, well, it's, you know, an ongoing argument that this was like a weakened Lyon. They had a lot of players out, and they did. But a weakened Lyon is still a damn strong team.
Well, so, I mean, to you, do you think that this is an indication? Can this just really be chalked up to a weaker Lyon? Or is this an indication that this is where Arsenal is this season and they actually have the potential to win this entire thing?
I think for me it's an indication where Arsenal is, because it wasn't like they were like fumbled goals for Arsenal. They were all beautifully well worked, long balls over the top, people getting in the right places at the right time. Like Beth Mead scored from a direct free kick. Caitlin Ford's goals, again, beautifully worked between her and Mido and stuff like that. So I just think it was technically Arsenal outflanked Lyon. It was sloppy from Lyon. You saw like Wendy Reynard kick a ball and give it straight to an Arsenal player who then went on and scored. Like, yeah, it was definitely really sloppy from Lyon, but brilliant football from Arsenal.
And it's just fun to see because this group, look, it's easy to look at this group and say, well, Arsenal and Lyon are going to advance. It doesn't really matter in what stage. Like, now that Arsenal's won, they'll probably go number 1 and Lyon will go number 2. But that is really jumping the gun. Obviously, we're in the beginning stages of this group stage. But Juventus has real potential here, especially with Lyon looking how they're looking, to do some damage. And then on the other side of it, to flip to the other French club that we love to talk about, Chelsea beat PSG 1-0, which was also, you know, obviously not a 5-1 scoreline, but unexpected, I think, for most people.
Yeah, again, I think PSG were less frantic than Lyon were, but that we were still missing that clinicalness. You know, they were outrun in the midfield. Chelsea absolutely battered them in the midfield, and the goal came from a corner kick that they brought Millie Bright up for. I think the Champions League, especially in the group stages, is going to be a little less predictable and quite more exciting than people may have thought on paper.
And we love to see that. I mean, we talk about this consistently. The more this can become just more competitive top to bottom, less predictable, the better. Let's go around the world, around the world. Allie danced when I sang that.
I always dance, just don't sing with you.
All right, we're headed over to Spain first. Barcelona have started to pull away from the pack with another win this week. Second place Levante could only manage another draw against Real Madrid, allowing for Barcelona to put 5 points between them and some breathing room gained. However, it is getting interesting in the teams that are in 2nd through 6th place. All teams on 10 points apiece is going to make the upcoming weeks very interesting.
North of the border to Scotland. It was the quarter-finals of the SWPL Cup this weekend. Current holders Celtic lost to Spartans on a penalty shootout after a draw in normal time. Both Rangers and Glasgow City won comfortably to go through to the next round. The 4th semi-finalist is Hibs.
Over to France. It's 5 wins out of 5 for Lyon, who are top of the table with 15 points. PSG are close behind with 13 points after securing another win this weekend. Paris FC, who are in 3rd, only managed to draw, which saw them slip further behind on points.
And finally over to Germany. It's also 5 wins out of 5 for Wolfsburg, who beat Bayern Munich 2-1 this weekend. Frankfurt jump up to 2nd after a win this weekend, but as with the French league, it's getting too close to call.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football games, including women's football. Want to know why Miedemar scores so many goals? Do you want to explore how City have turned it around this season? Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and sign up to learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for €10. That's €40 off the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
right, we made it. We're here. We're talking about it. The main event, it has to be the NWSL Semi-Finals. We know who's going to the finals, everybody.
We're very excited. Woo!
We've got Portland versus Kansas City. Now, here is when I wished that I did find myself at the end of both games wishing that sports betting was like big for women's sports here, because I would have put money on Kansas City pretty early in this season. Like, I think a lot of this is going to be me like big upping us and how we've been saying this for a long time. No, I'm not going to be annoying about it, but I really did wish. I was like, man, if I had put like $50 on Kansas City making it to the finals, those odds probably would have been pretty good.
Yeah, could have been rolling in it by now.
Yeah. All right, so we've got finals coming up this weekend, Portland versus Kansas City in Washington, D.C. I'm going to give it a shout out right now because I'm going to be there. So check our socials because I'm just going to try to post up at a bar or something if people want to come by and say hi and just chat. So I'm really excited.
Buy Sarah a drink.
Yeah. No. Can you imagine if we were just like, I'm going to be at a bar. If anybody wants to come buy me a drink, that'd be great. No, we're going to have some really great coverage on Thursday and Friday because we'll be there for Media Day. So, yeah, come hit us up. But before we talk about the finals, what do we have to talk about?
The semi-finals!
These were some pretty exciting games, and Allie was brave enough to stay up to watch the entirety of the first one. So good on you.
Yeah, I watched one of them, and then I was like, I got to get to work. I got to go to bed.
All right, well, let's get into it. We're going to break down both semifinal games, starting with the first game, Portland Thorns hosting San Diego Wave. The Thorns pulled this one out 2-1 in the 93rd minute with a goal by none other than Crystal Dunn. Just incredible. Chef's kiss, but we're not going to start with that. So let's get into it.
Okay, so first off, let's talk, like, generally. The atmosphere in that stadium was insane.
So much
like
fun.
you could see it coming through like the TV screen. Like everybody was up for that game.
Totally.
It was immense.
In both of the games, it was really fun to watch, and in all of these playoff games so far, the fans have showed up. And it was really extra nice for Portland, I think, because some of the players had posted on Instagram being like, we know you're mad at management, we know you're angry, but like we want you there, please come. And the fans listened and showed up, and it was really beautiful to see.
And you did feel like it was for the players.
Oh, absolutely.
They were there to like support the team that they love.
Yeah.
On the pitch.
Yep, absolutely.
Like they can make the distinction.
Yeah. And this, I have to say, was by far the prettiest of the two games. The second game, which we'll come on to, was not very pretty soccer. This, contrarily, was really fun to watch. It was an intense game. It was a physical game, and it very back and forth. And from two coaches, this was, by the way, the first time two female coaches have faced off in a playoff game in the NWSL.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, pretty incredible. And it was a great game to watch. Going in, I think the big question that we had was, how was Portland going to respond to this bye week? San Diego obviously coming off of a big win, having that momentum, and Portland having had multiple weeks off.
Yeah, it was a weird one. I think for me, in like starting, Portland were a bit soft. They were finding their foot, and I don't know if that was because of everything that's gone on. I don't know if it was the bye week and they'd lost their momentum, but it wasn't a cohesive performance for the first few minutes, and I think that's why they ended up conceding so quickly.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Because they just weren't there mentally. I don't think they'd really checked into the game yet.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's hard to look at both games and see that both home teams that had a bye both conceded a goal within the first 10 minutes. It's hard to look at that and not say that it's because they were coming off of the bye week and they were playing a team that was coming full force right from the jump, momentum already going. And Portland had to take a moment to get moving again, and they paid for it.
Yeah, exactly. So it could have been a very different story.
Truly, it could have been. San Diego made one change coming into this game, and Tim and I talked...
Which is very rare.
Which is... Well, it's not rare for Casey Stoney. You know, she's got that malleable lineup. She'll play people in different positions. She'll change it around. And Tim and I talked about this for those of you who got to listen to our Patreon last week where we were previewing both of these games. Tim and I talked about this, and he was of the opinion that Jakobsen should not start and Stoney should be keeping Jakobsen as a super sub on the bench. I was of the opinion that Jakobsen needed to start based on how impactful she was in that previous quarterfinals game. And that's what ended up happening. Was it better? Was it worse? We'll never know. I think Jakobsen I think it was the right move. It just, even though San Diego lost, I think that this was the right team to field. This was a very, very even match. It was 1-1 most of the game, and we'll come on to it. But just tactically, I appreciated that Jakobsen got that start. I felt like she earned it.
That's the thing. She'd earned her start with all that she'd done. We've been singing her praises all season because she's been absolutely phenomenal for San Diego. And this was not the time to be relying on super impactful subs.
Yes.
You don't know that this game was like, I mean, it ended up being 90 odd minutes, but it was 90 minutes of like make or break. This is going to be, there is no do-overs. There is nothing. So you need your best foot forward. And if Jakobsen has been the phenomenal player we know she's been all season, then you start her. You do. And I think Stoney got it right in the fact that it was the best squad that San Diego had.
And especially going into Portland, to your point, they were going to, and we talked about this, they were going to have to start off strong. If they went down initially, to have to crawl back against Portland in Portland, that is no chance, is a very, very tall task. And we also knew that looking at both of these teams, Portland is a team that can put away 4 or 5 goals in a game if they want to. And San Diego's not that team. So if San Diego was going to win, it was going to be a 1-0. It was going to be something of a smaller score.
It was going to be ground out.
Yes, exactly.
It was going to be a ground out result if San Diego were going to win. So that's why 100% right decision with Jakobsen.
Now, so let's go through this game chronologically because we're already talking about how San Diego put that first goal away. I mean, your reaction, first 10 minutes and San Diego goes up 1-0 in Portland against Portland.
They did it too soon. That's the West Ham fan in me. That if you score too soon, and then you've got to, like, as we've just said, they're going to ground out a result. They scored so early on. I'm like, right, you've got to sit back now for 80 odd minutes to like stop Portland doing Portland things.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it was a cracking goal. I was like excited for the goal, and then it sort of hit me, and I was like, oh no, you've done it too soon.
So what broke down for Portland in that goal? Because I mean, that was a classic San Diego goal.
Yeah, no, it was. It was the link up between the two players we've talked about for so much, and it was glorious. I think Portland, like I said, their head wasn't in the game in the beginning. They were really switched out. I don't think they were overawed by the occasion. I've seen a lot of people say that. I'm like,
oh yeah, God no. A veteran team, like, yeah, let's throw that out the window. Yeah,
your veteran team, like, it's not that. I genuinely don't think it was that. I do think that they just weren't clicking. Their head wasn't in the game, and San Diego had that momentum of like, we're going to do what we do best. We're going to do what thing. And like I said, it was the two players that we've talked about for ages doing what they were doing, linking up beautifully.
Yeah. And credit to Portland. I mean, Taylor Korniak put this away in classic Taylor Korniak fashion with her head, tallest player in the field. Credit to Portland. After that goal, they did a great job of shutting down Taylor Korniak in all aerial balls. So, learn from their mistakes. Credit to them. So what? San Diego scored in the first 10 minutes, and it was not too much longer, maybe 10 minutes later, and we got maybe the goal of the year from Rocky Rodriguez.
Just when I thought that Sophie Schmidt's goal for Dash could not be beaten, in comes Rocky Rodriguez. I thought, like, Sophie Schmidt's goal was beautiful, and I talked about that last week, but Rocky's goal was incredible. Like, the skill, the power, it was everything that as a striker you wish you could score goals like.
It was absolutely stunning. There's really nothing else to say about it other than it was just absolutely a worldy of a goal. Like, goal of the year maybe in the NWSL. It was,
like,
Just stunning. So from then on out, that's like the 20th minute. It's 1-1 for the entirety of the game. I'm not sure how, because the number of chances, the number of missed clearances, just the number of times that ball almost went into the net on both sides of the ball, it was pretty unreal. But in both games, it felt like it was almost a stalemate of such in the way that I think in the second game, which we'll come on to, it was simply a lack of creativity on both sides of the ball to change your game plan. Versus in this game, I actually think it was a tactical battle between coaches, and why it seemed to come to such a stalemate.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. Yeah, it was a much more defensive, even though we were saying about they were making howlers and stuff like that, it definitely felt more of a defensive game, and that whereas we always talk, it's one in the midfield, it was very much whose defenders was going to break down first, but they didn't break down for 80-90 minutes.
Totally. It was won and lost in the final third every single time, like you were saying, which brings us on to what we have to, the main event. Crystal Dunn, we have missed you so much.
Just come back from having a bubba,
Can you believe that was 5 months ago? And I appreciate how Portland's been giving her the time to slowly ramp up. Obviously, that's why she wasn't starting. She came in, I think, around the 75th or something minute, maybe even the 80th. And it did not take long. And that was just a screamer of a goal. I feel for San Diego fans in that moment. And also, I think that sometimes Crystal Dunn, transcends team allegiances, kind of like Becky Sauerbrunn does, where you're just so happy for her as a human being.
Good things need to happen to Crystal Dunn.
That you can't... Exactly. But what a beautiful moment that was for Crystal Dunn coming back into Portland, doing that in front of the sold-out stadium in Portland in the 93rd minute. I wanted to cry, honestly. It was so beautiful.
It was, and Crystal Dunn did the ground rule for all strikers, which is if you can't do precision, you do power.
Yeah.
And it was again, Sheridan had no goalkeeper. No goalkeeper had any hope of getting a hand to that if they wanted to keep their hand to it. And that's the thing, power will override precision 90% of the time.
Well, I don't agree with that, but Dunn did say at the end of the game, she was like, I just saw it and thought, hit it hard and hit it on frame and maybe something good will happen. And
something did.
Something did. That was just beautiful. I want to talk about San Diego and what an incredible season they had.
Oh, they should be so proud. I know they're going to be so disappointed, but they should be so proud of where they've come in their first season.
Because this is just the start.
For sure.
This is just the jumping off point. And they've got another draft. They've got a free agency moment where they can pick up a lot of different players. And Casey Stoney has created such an incredibly dynamic team. And to think that they're just going to get to add pieces to the puzzle, great job, San Diego. Big ups to you. I don't want to end on a sad note, but we have to talk about this. Christine Sinclair was nowhere to be found in this game. Leading goal scorer, absolute legend. I would assume somebody you want on the field in one of these games, right? And yet we only saw her for maybe the last 3 minutes of it. So we have to pose this question. Is this the last we may see of Sinclair in a Portland Thorns uniform?
I don't think it's the last we're going to see from her. I think they're going to do, and I don't want to make this comparison, but it's the only one I've got.
You're going to say Carly Lloyd.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, but I think that's what it's going to be. I think we're going to start seeing her sort of be phased out gently. I know Lloyd was clinging on with fingernails, but it's that sort of thing in the fact that she is such a beloved legend at Portland. I don't think she would go anywhere else after if she was let go from Portland. So I just think it's going to be a grace thing that we may not see her in every game. We may not see her, play a full 90 minutes. It might be these appearances for maybe the back end of, she'll be the mega 60-minute sub or whatever it is. So I think it's the last we'll see her in her full power at Portland, but I do think we'll still see her be respectfully phased out rather than cruelly cut. This is where I went to bed, but I have seen the highlights, and I'm very excited.
Honestly, if there was one to miss, I think it was this one.
I was going to say, to be fair, having seen the highlights, I think I watched the better game.
Yeah.
Second semi-final, which is Seattle versus Kansas City. As we mentioned earlier, Kansas City got through. They won 2-0.
Who bet on that? Wow. I mean, shutting out OL Reign, that's wild.
The thing with this was OL Reign really, really failed because of the bye week, because there was no synchronicity between them whatsoever. This was not the OL Reign we'd seen all season, and Kansas City were coming off of this momentum that they had been like building up, and it was glorious.
I mean, let's just get into it, because we're talking about both teams. Let's just dive right in. So let's get into OL Reign. What went wrong? We have to point out what we were just talking about. The bye week, I think it has to be pointed out as an explanation for this. Megan Rapinoe has been so consistent for OL Reign this season. And it's because Laura Harvey has been able to manage Megan Rapinoe's minutes so well, so that when Pino is on the field, she's incredibly effective. And then she goes off and she plays basically 90 minutes in both of the games for the U.S. Women's National Team and comes back, I'm guessing, pretty exhausted. And I just have to assume that had a role to play here.
Yeah, and it wasn't just Pino as well. So you've got like Jess Fishlock, who is, again, one of the most consistent players for OL Reign. Like, everybody loves Jess Fishlock. Has come back from Welsh international duty.
Totally.
Where they unfortunately lost.
Heartbreaker.
Heartbreaker for them. So you've got that. You've got Alana Cook. So you're right. You've got Bethany Belcher. Right. There's Quinn. There are so many internationals on their team compared to
I guess I point out Pino because she was the one who I felt like disappeared. Yeah. I also feel like Quinn disappeared, but for a different reason. So we'll come on to that. But I felt like Pino disappeared because of exhaustion, frankly. And they weren't able to utilize her in the same way. Versus Jess Fishlock was on fire.
Yeah.
Jess Fishlock was like some of the only offense that was being created out of OL Reign.
Yeah, but the problem is you can't win a match with one player. So you can't. So Fishlock was doing all these creative things, but there was no end product.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it about OL Reign's attack. Like it was one dimensional.
So it's a shame for OL Reign, but can we talk Kansas City now?
Let's do it. Let's talk Kansas City.
Boy, what a team.
Oh my gosh.
We've been saying it. We've been saying it since the beginning of the season when we did our NWSL preview. Like, Kansas City is not one to sleep on.
Mm-hmm.
And
and then everybody did.
And it was an ugly win. It was an ugly win, but boy, the players that they had, we talked about it last week.
Credit to this team, because it needs to be pointed out that the first playoff game against Houston, they're missing Desiree Scott. They're starting number 6, right? And so Loera, who I guess I just want to throw some love over to Loera because because oh my goodness, right? So Desiree Scott is out the first game from a red card. Loera slots in. She's been playing on the back line this whole season. She slots into the number 6 for Desiree Scott. And then lo and behold, unfortunately, Lavoguez gets hurt, and now all of a sudden we're missing another midfielder. So what happens? Loera then slots into a more attacking role in this game, and it is just so beautiful to watch this young player really hold her own against some of the best midfielders in the game. And I just have to give this system and these players so many props for how they have slowly developed. And the fact that she can slot in like that is not only a credit to her, but it's a credit to the whole system and how well they as a team understand their system, play well within the system and together. And that's what really it's a credit to.
Yep, absolutely. So not only is she a great utility player, being here whenever she gets a goal, and it was, you know what? It may not have been the goal of the season, but it was beautiful and it was coming.
And it was important. It was a weird little goal. It kind of dribbled into the side net, but it set the tone because that goal went in the 4th minute of the game. So this entire game, OL Reign is playing catch up. And I really think that had Kansas City given OL Reign time to get their rhythm, get their feet underneath them, this might have turned into a different game. But they were shocked from the beginning.
Yes, and let's talk Hamilton, because we have been shouting out Hamilton every single time we talk about Casey.
Yeah.
We have been talking about Hamilton and how she's being slept on and how people are not understanding the power that she has.
Yeah.
And then getting that winning goal.
And at risk of sounding like a broken record, but like I want to talk about what's so special about her, because I think it's easy to look at Kristen Hamilton and just say like, oh, well, she's good on the counters because she's fast. But that's not all that she brings to this team or to any team that she's on. The dynamic runs that she makes up top pull defenders out of position. And then I think one of the biggest pieces is I think she is one of the best players in this whole league at hold-up play. So as a forward, getting the ball with your back to the goal and holding the ball up so that the rest of your team has time to get up the field and support so you can maintain possession. She is so good at that. And that's what ended up leading to her goal.
Yeah, exactly. So shout out to Hamilton. Like, we love her.
Yeah.
Another player I want to shout out because they don't get enough respect is goalkeepers. And I want to talk about AD French because what a game they had keeping their team in it.
Yeah.
Absolutely was on fire.
I think this game had everybody going, why is AD French not being called into the U.S. camp again?
Yes, that is becoming a very big question.
Yeah, and I will say a couple things. First, AD French, I believe, is up for goalkeeper of the year this year. I could be wrong, but I believe I haven't been paying all that much attention to the awards, but I believe that, it wasn't just this game is what I'm saying. AD French has had a season. And I also loved what she had to say at the end of the game where she was basically she got asked, what was the best save? Do you have your favorite save? And she was like, well, when one of my defenders cleared the ball off the line. She was giving her defenders a lot of credit, basically saying it wasn't just me. And she's right. That defense gets so much credit for that shutout.
Worked so hard.
But AD French had some wild, just pure reactionary saves. Yeah, she had an absolutely great game. But while we're talking about clearances off the line, I'm publicly not a fan of VAR. I don't know if you know this, Allie.
Is anyone?
But we really could have used some goal line technology in this game. There were two shots specifically. The first was the absolute screamer by Jess Fishlock that hit the inside of the crossbar and bounced down. Still to this date, I don't think we'll ever know if that was a goal.
If it fully crossed, yeah.
And same with the one that that AD French mentioned, where I forget which defender, but a defender literally cleared it off of the goal line. And there's a freeze frame photo circulating on Twitter, but it's a horrible angle. We are never going to know. So I guess just worth saying, because there is some controversy around that. And while Kansas City was the better team, just one of those being called in would have changed the entire course of this game.
So let's preview very quickly the final, the game between Portland versus Kansas City.
This is going to be a fun one. This is, again, two teams that are pretty possession-based. Yep. I think that Kansas...
Both coming in with some momentum.
Yes, both coming in with big-time momentum. Kansas City has shown that they're not afraid to sit back and allow the other team to have the ball and that they can still win that way. And I think being so multidimensional could really benefit them. But at the same time, you have to look at these teams and also say that Kansas City is way more banged up than Portland is right now.
I was going to say, Portland have got the depth, and we have seen that with what they're pulling off the bench. With Dunny, with Sinclair, with these sort of players.
Crystal Dunn comes off the bench.
Exactly. So I think Kansas City may have the technical ability to do it. They are going to be missing a key player, though, or possibly two key players.
Yes, big time.
And then, obviously, we saw Cece Kaiser go off 5 minutes before the end of the first half.
Yeah, you hate to see anybody get a concussion. And specifically Cece Kaiser, who we were just talking about, is kind of an underrated piece to this Kansas City team. Weirdly very rated in the NWSL, but still somehow underrated. And this is not to discredit Desiree Scott or anything that midfield can do, but I think that that's going to be a more difficult hole to fill for Kansas City than one of those midfield slots was to fill.
Yeah, she's an intrinsic part of the cogs that is Kansas City.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be a lot of playing around to try and make a formation that works. I mean, I'm going to clear my bias now. I would love to see them do it.
Yeah.
I would love to see Kansas City go all of the way.
Do you think that they will?
I think they can. I think they've got it in their locker to do it. I do think that. I think they've got some great players in Hamilton, in Scott, in Mace, in players that we've talked about. I do think they've got it. See, I don't know whether it's the case they should score early and hold on, which is a terrible, painful thing as a fan.
I don't think any team is scoring early and sitting. I just think that both of these teams are powerful enough and they can score enough goals that no team's strategy, at least it's just not going to work if it's your strategy to sit. You can't sit against either of these teams.
So yeah, I mean, if I'm going with my heart, it's Kansas City. If I'm going with my head, it's Portland.
You got to pick one. Pick one in a scoreline, Allie.
Oh,
here we go.
All right, the head's winning. It's Portland 2-1.
Okay. I'm going same scoreline, but I'm going Kansas City 2-1. K-Ham with the winner. Here we go. Just like last week, we will have a Patreon episode dropping. That is a full-blown preview of the upcoming finals matchup. Tim will be joining me on Patreon, and we are breaking it down, a full-blown breakdown of this matchup. So head on over to Patreon/The Woso Show and check it out. And that's it for us here at the Women's Soccer Show. Catch us here next week to talk about these NWSL finals and, of course, WSL. For the Women's Soccer Show, I've been Sarah.
And I've been Allie.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.